Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode, we are continuing on with the Purge series by covering the dystopian horror film The Purge Anarchy, written and directed by James DeMonaco and released July 18th, 2014. The second Purge movie to be released, but since we are doing them chronologically, the third we're covering here.
Yes, because we did the first Purge, then we did The Purge, and now The Purge Anarchy.
And its timeline stuff is weird to watch them and talk about them now, because I was like, so this one's set in 2023, which is a year after The Purge is set in 2022, which those were released 2013 and 2014, respectively, so set 10 years in the future, which are now 2 and 3 years in our past. It's very confusing.
Yes, it is. I actually always have to dig the timeline out because it gets confusing after a while. Just because it's like forwards and backwards. And I mean, they did the prequel like only like 4 movies in, and the movie that just came out like a couple of years ago, The Forever Purge, takes place in 2048.
Where does the TV series fall in that?
Funny you should ask that. I actually have the timeline up.
Huh. Trivia.
So 2016, The First Purge, that was the prequel where they did the little test run. 2022 was The Purge. The Purge Anarchy is in 2023. The TV series runs from 2027 to 2031. The Purge election year is 2040, and the Forever Purge is 2048. So that's kind of the breakdown. There's been talk of another movie, but they just really haven't planned anything out yet, so I don't know if it's happening. I really enjoyed the series. They only did 2 seasons, but the stories were interesting. They had more time to, dig in and spread them out so that you could see more of what actually happened instead of cramming it into an hour and a half to 2-hour movie. What I really liked about The Purge Anarchy is it gave you a glimpse into outside, like what was happening in a city versus in a house, or what we got in the prequel. It kind of gave you that look, but at the time we hadn't seen that piece. So I really appreciated that this broadened, the landscape of The Purge and the franchise. This movie is probably my favorite out of all of them, although I really liked The Purge election year as well.
Nice. Which would be next on our list.
Yes. Not sure when we'll cover it. Sometime.
Whenever, yeah.
So we'll get this started like we always do with some production notes. It was filmed in and around Los Angeles, California, including a Chip's restaurant and Silver Lake Medical Center. It's the second film in the Purge film franchise, but the third with regard to the timeline, which we just went through. The budget was between 9 and 11 million, but it grossed 111.9 million, which I have to say is a pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was 104 minutes long. Pake, give us a synopsis.
All right. And this one I got to give myself credit for because this is not IMDb. I didn't like theirs, so I came up with my own. This is from Pake Brain.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
If it's awesome, you're welcome. And if it sucks, actually, Daphne wrote it. No, no, but here it goes. So Three stories converge as a man with a vendetta, a stranded couple, and a mother and daughter all have to work together to survive the year's most deadly night.
Pake, I think that's fantastic. Good job. I already shared that this is, my favorite one. It also gives us, we get to meet Leo Barnes, who is not named Leo Barnes in this movie.
Who? I'm going to be that person that I hate online. Who?
Frank Grillo plays the character that I think in this movie is mostly known as Sarge or Sergeant because
just the sergeant.
He's a police.
He's never referred to by any name other than, hey, you, hey. Callie won't stop talking his ear off the whole movie, whether he likes it or not.
Right.
Yeah, and then the only other time is, when Big Daddy at the end of the movie calls him Sergeant and then realizes because he, did the research and figured out who he was. But yeah, he's not named. That's kind of like there's another character that we'll talk about that makes a small appearance in this movie, who's still, at this point, not named. But I think you referred to them by a name that they're given in still a later movie.
What, Dante Bishop?
Yeah.
It's Dante Bishop. He is the guy from the first movie.
Yeah, I know who he is, but he doesn't have that name in our timeline. Still, technically. It has not been spoken in the movies we've covered so far.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's who he is to me, because I've seen these movies a bunch of times.
And I've seen none of them, except for the first, not the first Purge, but The Purge, which was the first one that came out. I saw that in theaters and then never watched any of these other ones ever. So these are all first-time viewings for me, and so...
So you've named them all these ridiculous things, I'm sure.
So there is no Leo Barnes. To me, in my notes, who the fuck is that? No, but he goes by many names in my notes, because I didn't have a specific name to call him, so then I just decided to give him as many different nicknames throughout my notes as I could, really. So that's
for fun.
For fun.
I'm sure, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to write out Sergeant every time. So.
Great. Did you come up with some fun acronyms?
No.
Just shortened versions of things?
Just different nicknames.
Great. Well, I look forward to hearing those. To me, he's Leo Barnes. It's just how it is. I won't
have a clue who you're talking about if you talk about. I'm just kidding.
The thing is, in this series, not a lot of characters overlap. There's not like, oh, I get to see the same people in every movie. It's usually they're telling different stories. And they might have a cameo appearance in a different one. Leo is one that he's a main character in this movie and the next one. Which, I'm sorry if I spoiled.
Yeah, I can't watch it now. You've ruined it for me.
I didn't want to spoil it for everyone, but this is how it is. He's in the next one. He's a main character in the next one. He's quite badass in this one and in the next one, so, he's great. The NFFA, which is the new Founding Fathers of America, were voted in about 9 years ago, and so they did, they got their Purge thing going, and as a result of the Purge, America has a very low unemployment rate, and crime is virtually non-existent. And
it's the best thing that's ever happened, and we love it so much, right?
Oh, sure. And every year, fewer and fewer people live below the poverty line, and my first question was, I wonder why. Oh, wait.
Yeah, because you're killing all of the ones that are.
You're basically killing the poorest people who can't afford to pay for protection. They can have steel windows, steel covering their windows and doors. They can't protect themselves.
Can't have CGI shutters that move up and down over the front door.
No. This isn't the Belko experiment. Like, things don't happen. You can't go to your office and get locked in. Which was also, being in the office was, I think, season 1 of The Purge, the series. That was one of the things that they did with that. I thought that this movie gave us a glimpse into several different economic types going through the same experience and pulled together. And I really like this one. It's my favorite one. It's one I've seen a bunch of times. I toyed with the idea of not rewatching it and just seeing what I could remember, like what my notes would be. And I'm like, no, why would I do that? Because I can.
If you like it, why not rewatch it?
Yeah, exactly. So I rewatched it and took all of my notes, and yeah, I have quite a few things to say about it. And since you had not seen it, I'm really curious what you have to say, despite the fact that you're making up character names.
Mm-hmm. They're accurate names, I guess. To me.
To you. Uh-huh. So, that said, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to pick who you want to start with.
My notes are in the order that you sent on the thing, so the Sergeant is where it starts. And we'll jump around a bit, because we don't get into the meat of him until a little bit later on. It kind of seems like Ava and Callie are your main characters at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But we can go wherever. So,
okay.
Sergeant's good to start with. He's the first one on my notes, so why not?
Okay, that sounds good.
Frank Grillo.
Yes.
A.K.A. Crossbones from the MCU. Plus, like a billion other things, of course. But that's usually, when I see him, that's where I first go. So, I'm a big Marvel nerd, so...
I saw him on a soap opera.
It's Brock Rumlow. It's Crossbones. That's Frank Grillo to me.
Yep. Yeah, I saw him on a soap opera. It was Guiding Light. He played Hart Jessup, and that was way back in the day. And he's done a hell of a lot more since then, so.
So that's why, since he was just the Sergeant, and I didn't really want to write the Sergeant in all of my notes, most of his names are different plays off of Frank Grillo and Rumlow and Crossbones. And
really?
Because that's who he is to me, and that's what I had to go off of. But yeah, so it's, hard to pick like a main character, because it is kind of a group effort here. It's a ensemble in a way. It is, as I mentioned in that synopsis, 3 separate stories that then combine. So at the beginning of the movie, you're getting a lot more of the multiple stories jumping back and forth. You have Eva and her family. You have the Sergeant here, who's got a vendetta of his own that takes all the way to the end of the movie for you to actually figure out what it is. We get Shane and Liz, this married couple, but they are not having the best relationship, and they're talking about splitting up and telling their family and kind of moving forward with that. While they're out, they see some purgers out and about getting ready for the night, or so you think. There's some more truth to what those people are exactly, but they sabotage the car to strand them on purpose, because they needed people.
Yeah, I forgot about the jump scare of the guy that just bumps into the frame and knocks Shane over. I forgot about that jump scare, so I had started the movie and I'm like, okay, and then it's like, oh my god, I forgot that. I forgot that was there, so I wasn't ready for it.
But a lot of the Sergeant is, him just driving around at first. I was like, Grillo's got his own mission, and he's got no time for those other randos. He pulls up, sees people just like purging, doing stuff, cars on fire, things, and he's like, and we're just going to take a different route, and we're going to go somewhere else. Not my problem, bye-bye.
What do you think of his car?
I love his car. Armored, reinforced, super cool. I like that car a lot.
Yeah, he did too.
Too bad it doesn't last very long. We had what happens to Shane and Liz, and then after that first little gun fight that he finds himself trying to escape from in that car, and then it's engine blown. I was like, welcome to Car Problems, the movie. Yes.
It's true. Frank Grillo loved that car. He wanted to buy it, but they didn't let him.
Man.
I'm like, that's not fair. That was a great car. It would have been great. Can you imagine? Yeah, I drove this car in a movie. Here it is in my yard. Oh my gosh. Yeah. He kind of starts the night, though, before the purge kicks off. He has a mission that he wants to fulfill on the purge night. You get the impression, maybe, that purging isn't necessarily something he has taken part in every year. At least that was my first impression.
Right, but he has a very specific goal in mind.
He definitely does.
Able to in this year.
Absolutely. Yes, and what would that mission be, Pake?
We'll have to wait till the end of the movie to find out.
Well,
no, we can jump to. We can talk about it a little bit. Yeah. Of course, in this note, it's like I'm referencing other people because it's after the whole, hunting grounds and stuff where him and Eva and Callie steal racist grandma's car. But even then, Sarge lets her waddle away. So I like the remember me was really cool. Very much is like, I could kill you, but no, I want you to remember the horrible, horrible person that you are, and I hope you see my face again, and if not, then every night in your dreams.
Like the tall man?
Yeah. And then, with about 45 minutes left, Sarge is still planning on finishing the night's itinerary. And that's where they pull up to this house, and he's talking with Eva and Callie, and gives the lowdown on that. It's just, he says his 12-year-old son was hit and killed by a drunk driver who managed to walk free. So previously to this, he technically did break the law. It's outside of Purge plans. It is a crime. But he disabled the barrier at the guy's house and then planned ahead for this night. He wants to take justice into his own hands during the Purge. And I was like, look, I get it. Like, that frustration, I can only imagine the pain and anguish of that situation. But I also agree with Callie and a lot of what she says to him throughout the movie and even here, where she's really trying to bring him down. It's like, hey, she says something along the lines earlier about killing someone doesn't heal you. Right.
You're not going to feel better by doing it. It's not going to change things.
And then even in this instance specifically, it's like, it's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to bring back your son. And you just mentioned to them that this guy you're after, this house, you just mentioned he has 2 young kids in the house with him. And it's like killing their father in cold blood in their home. It's just all you're doing is continuing a cycle of violence and hatred. You're not going to feel better. They're going to feel worse. It's like, and I like that Callie, realizing that you can only say and do so much and he's going to, go off. But she tries. Just stay in the car with us. Wait till it's over. And then we can drive off. We can go. It's like, you don't have to do this. Just stay here with us and wait for the time to pass. Almost just if you just don't do this, in hindsight, you'll realize that it was better for you not to. And that sticks with him. Because, as we see, it was awesome ending, because he goes in and he confronts the guy with 5 minutes left, gets him and his wife down on the floor, and then they just kind of cut out to him walking out of the house, and you're like, did he do it? Did he not? And you're not really sure. Quite a way to end the Purge night, where he's walking out of the house and then gets shot by Big Daddy, who makes a comeback after. I'm sure we'll talk about the stuff with him. But Big Daddy had found out where he was going to be after he did some research and found out who he was.
Yeah.
You pull up his record and realize what happened. He's like, well, I know exactly what he's doing.
Exactly.
He's like, I would do the same thing. I get it. But before he could take the actual kill shot on Sarge, he takes a couple gut shots and wounds him. Probably would be fatal if he didn't get the help he got at the end of the movie. Yeah, before he can take that kill shot, I love that. Then the guy who killed Sarge's son emerges from the house and shoots Daddy in the head. And so that's really Sarge did spare him, and I hoped that would be the case.
Me too.
So it's this really cool thing, and then Eva, Callie, and this random man take Sarge to the hospital, and all is well. All right, so that's the end of the movie. The end. Thanks for listening, everybody. Oh, no.
Yeah. Leo, aka Sarge, definitely had a lot of rage for what happened, understandably. Because his life also fell apart after he and his wife split up. His wife is gone on to marry someone else and has another family, and he even tells her to go be with her family because she comes to his apartment or his house to tell him, please don't do this. It's not going to make him feel better if he does it. And he's got the pictures on his wall.
Yeah.
And so she could see what he had planned, and she tries to talk him out of it, and he's He's got one thing on his mind, his vendetta.
So it's quite the bump in the road for him to trying to he just has this one mission, and now he's taking care of a whole group of people who are attached to him, just like, hey, we're gonna follow you everywhere, please save us, we're a bunch of useless people. And he's like, oh god, like, how did I go from like killer on a warpath to babysitter?
Yeah,
like that's his role now.
But he tries to talk himself out of it.
Oh yeah.
He's like, turn around, turn around, turn around. Let's move. We're not going to do it. Yeah. He's like, no, he doesn't really want to. But as he later explains to Eva and Callie, or to Callie, you were fighting. I saw you fighting. And he felt like he had to do something. He gave in and just went and shot shit up so that they could escape. And then he takes responsibility for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at first I thought he was going to leave them. And then he just gives Eva a look, and that basically...
Well, she also did lie to him about a whole car situation that doesn't exist. So
she did.
There was that.
She did, but not at the point where he takes them with him after he shoots the people that were going to shoot them, basically. Mm-hmm. Big Daddy. Like, he...
Yeah. At that point, he just... Yeah, that was later, but... Yeah, with this instance, I mean, because he sees, like, I can't just leave them out here, right here. Like, at least get them away in somewhere safer.
Yeah, and they learn later that specific buildings were targeted.
Mm-hmm.
And that this was much bigger than, random people in their community killing each other. This had much more sinister...
which I was already aware of, because we did First Purge first. Mm-hmm. And they talk about that a lot in there, that even that first test, the, like, test run of it, not enough people were purging, and so they had to just throw their own people in. So if I watched these as they were released, this would have been, like, a twist, but it really wasn't for me here, because it's like, I've seen... to where even, like, forgetting that, like, technically the order of these movies, where I had a note about that where I was just like, oh, yeah, the gunner trucks are targeting specific low-income buildings and stuff. I was like, looks like the NFFA is throwing their own guys into the mix to rig the game a bit, again. But then I was like, actually, technically, I mean, it would be again. Timeline-wise, chronologically, but yeah. This is the first time people see this if you were watching these movies in the order they were released.
Then it's a surprise.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, but should it really be a surprise?
No, of course not.
I mean...
Then we also have Carmelo's, like, anti-NFFA team, who is highly capable as well, as our group comes across the aftermath of one of those trucks to see that, like, okay, like, it's full-on war zone outside in a lot of places. It's anarchy, right?
Exactly.
As the name says. So we got snipers and crazies perched in places, hunters setting traps and street trash, Ghoul and the gang driving around abducting people. Cool. It's mayhem, I tell you.
Ghoul and the gang. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
Well, that's just one of the names I have for them.
Great. I can hardly wait for the rest of them. I wondered if, or what, or how Carmelo and his team were gonna show up in this series. Because we only see him on the video at first, where Callie and her grandfather are watching this video of Michael Kenneth Williams, who, R.I.P., is fantastic in this role, but I remember him as Omar from The Wire, which was I guess they are similar in some ways, but, he really, I appreciated what he had to say a lot of the time. I think my favorite thing was, fuck the new founding fathers, fuck you, fuck your money, and motherfuck the purge. That was...
Yeah.
I mean, I want that on a t-shirt. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I like that we got to see him later, because you never know with some movies. I mean, they have people watching videos and things, and you don't know if the person's ever actually going to show up. And I remember when I saw this movie for the first time, it was so cool to see Dante Bishop, aka I think he was called the Stranger.
The Stranger, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all he's credited with in this movie as well, so.
He showed up in this and I was so excited because I thought, oh, okay, we do have one connecting thread, because there were little glimpses, like there was a woman who put flowers out, the blue flowers, which we know is a sign of support, and similar things, that kind of connected. But that to me was like the first big connection as far as like from this movie to the last one.
Did not see that one coming. That was I was like, holy shit, that's an awesome return. I said, the Stranger, quote unquote, from the Purge. It's like after the events of last year for him. It's like, he joined Carmelo's crew of rebels, which makes sense that he would kind of keep deciding to fight on the front lines of stuff, and they bust into this hunting ground in order to help take out those rich trash bags.
Oh my god, that's so similar to what I wrote, which was Dante Bishop and Carmelo come to take out the trash.
Nice. Yep. And then there's Carmelo. He comes in. Callie's a huge fan.
She is.
Quoting his videos and stuff to him, and he's just like, nice to meet you too, young lady. Like,
well, I think she really appreciated what he was trying to do. And even though her grandfather kind of wrote Carmelo off, she was like, no, I think he's legit. He's real, what he's trying to do. Because Callie's grandfather was like, he's not going to do anything. People always talk or whatever.
Note sections, schmoach sections. Who cares? We're jumping around everywhere in all of my sections, back and forth. And that's okay. Just have to remember what I have or haven't said. Because as you bring it up, I'm like, well, I have a note about it, so we're going to do it. With Papa Rico there. Eva lives with her father and then her daughter, Callie. Her daughter Callie, on the pulse of anti-purge sentiments, who sees it for what it really is, the legal extermination of the poor to save the government money. But also
they're not wrong.
Yeah. But also her dad, Papa Rico, as he's credited there, who is grumpy and loves complaining about everything. Man, I hate the purge. Man, I hate people who hate the purge. Man, I hate medicine. Man, I hate hating things. I'm sorry. To where I was just like, oh, he's headed out during purge night. Is he going to go complain at some people? But he's got a limo and a driver waiting for him.
It's a much different ending than what you thought.
Yeah, and we learned, he went out to be a martyr to a rich family, is what they called it. These rich people who just want to murder minorities. America.
And they paid him. They paid him money, and he looked at himself as a burden to his daughter and granddaughter because he had expensive medication. Yeah. He didn't want his daughter to continue paying for it. And his daughter worked as a waitress at a cafe or a restaurant and had tried to get more money and just couldn't get a raise. Yeah. They were doing everything they could do, but it was really hard to make things work. And they weren't really living in a great neighborhood.
Yeah. So he's paid $100,000 that'll be sent to Eva and Callie for him doing that. And it was the setup for the whole hunting grounds and stuff later, where you're seeing that, this is what rich people are doing with Purge Night.
Because it's safe. It's safe. They don't have to go anywhere. They can do it in the, privacy of their own home if they want, or with friends looking out over. It kind of reminded me of Squid Game before Squid Game. Right. Like how the VIPs are sitting in that room watching everything. Yeah. The visuals in these movies sometimes are striking, and for me, them standing in a plastic covered room holding machetes while he's sitting in the chair, and it just zooms out and you see that visual. Yeah. It was just like, wow. And they're all happy to be doing this, to be killing someone.
Yep. It's, fucked up. But then, so Eva and Callie are at home after finding out that that's what he did. And then they get this whole armored army It's weird 2 words to put together. Coming for them with Big Daddy. And also that piece of shit Diego from downstairs.
Yeah. When he licked her cheek, Eva's cheek, he was standing there threatening them, and then he licks Eva's cheek.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my notes
so
early with her, I was
gross.
like, we never see this guy again, but early in the movie, this guy Carlos that works at the diner or is there, I was like, oh, so he's a creep. Got it. And then she gets back home and in the building, and there's like Diego, and I was like, so every man that she crosses paths with is a creep. Got it. That's, she's just all day, every day dealing with creepy, shitty people. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, even just walking home from the diner, she's got the guy trying to sell her weapons and saying, oh, we take all different types of payment methods.
Yeah.
Which you know what he meant by that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And it's just like, so she just continues to deal with this type of people. And even her coworker is like, oh, but Carlos, he's cute and blah, blah, blah. And she just is honest with her and just says, he's a dog. And I'm like, yeah, he's a dog. For real. Because of he tells her that he wants to, maybe on this purge night, he wants to kidnap her or something.
Yeah, it's like, that's not a joke you make in, like, that's not a fun. That's creepy. It's weird and bad. You're bad.
You're a bad, bad boy.
Mm-hmm. And not in a fun way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so then Diego breaks up into their apartment, and then he gets taken out by the soldiers, who then we find out are collecting people for this guy named Big Daddy and his personal purge, but he's working for the government he's part of the NFFA in order to get those numbers up, right? Fudge the numbers a little bit, because if we just leave it to the people, they're not killing each other enough to actually make this viable. We have to go in and take out the pores on our own.
Yes, and it has to be like this particular class of people that they're trying to kill.
Yeah.
And,
very fucked up. And yeah, that's where we can finally jump back to Grillo. Because he rolls up on that abduction and can't allow himself to just ignore it and drive off. And while he's taking out Big Daddy's crew, Shane and Liz, we haven't talked about a whole lot, who've been running around downtown after their car broke down trying to, and not die, sneak into the backseat of his awesome car. And now everyone's together.
I thought he might shoot them.
Right. I think he was he was threatening to, I'm going to shoot you, you don't get out of my car. But then I think it was Callie that notices Big Daddy's getting back up. And so he's got this big, machine gun mounted gun in the back of that truck. He's like, we've got to go. And then not only that, but then, Ghostface and the Funky Bunch are rolling up as well. So it is time to bounce.
Yeah, you've got lots of names. Our listeners are going to be so confused as to who you're actually talking about, probably.
Yeah, well, it should be easy enough to follow.
Ghostface, Godface, Ghoulface.
Ghoul in the Gang, I liked. That might be my favorite one.
Ghoul in the Gang is a good one.
I'm glad that's the first one I got to do.
The guy that played Ghoulface was in Get Out.
Yeah, it's Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have a note about that, because he's incredible. My note was just, Lakeith Stanfield! Dude, he's so good. What a surprise. And he was the one that had the mask that said God on it.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, Get Out. But also, not in the realm of Run for Your Lives, but if you haven't seen it, Judas and the Black Messiah. Go watch that movie now. Well, after you listen to this podcast, listeners. But then go watch Judas and the Black Messiah, because he's incredible in that, too.
Yeah. And he did all of those things after this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was very young, baby-faced, Lakeith Stanfield, yeah.
Yeah, this is one of his earliest film roles. In fact, it might have been his second or third, I think.
But he was definitely a highlight for me of having that, Leo DiCaprio meme moment of when he takes the mask off and I see the actor underneath and I'm pointing at the screen, go, ooh, look, it's Lakeith Stanfield. I was like, yay, surprise, didn't expect to see him, but I like him. Good.
Yeah, not playing a nice guy in this one. No. He's in it for the money.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the money. That song's really when it's not about the money, right? I don't know. Anyway, Yeah, so now he's Grillo for most of my notes. It's easier to write than Sergeant. But he's on babysitting duty, trying to get them from, now that the car is broken down after that fight, to get people somewhere safe. That's where Eva comes up with this, we can go to my friend's house and then you can borrow her car. And it's like, okay, sure. And as they're kind of sneaking around, come on, Liz, leading a purger right to you, yelling at a rat. But Sergeant Bones is quite capable. That's another name for him. I'll go with that. I like Sergeant Bones. He's Crossbones. Again, MCU reference.
Yes, so. I know.
Takes that guy out. Then they sneak on down into the subway system, where I was like, oh great, now we got to pack a subway tunnel war boys. That's fun. Why the group that was hiding all ran out to offer themselves as red shirts so that our main cast characters had a chance to escape. Who knows why they did that other than, well, what I just said, I guess, writing-wise.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. I'm like, wouldn't you at least stay in there and hide to give yourself a chance?
Mm-hmm.
At least wait till they drive by and then run out behind them after they've already gone ahead. No.
Yeah, but we needed a bunch of bodies running around so that our people could escape. So that's why we did that.
But Shane decides that they're not going to escape.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is just like, we're not going to make it out of here. So he stops and decides he's going to be a hero and start shooting at them, which it works. The car blows up and everything, but he gets shot.
Exploded the war boys.
Yes. And he ends up getting shot in the process.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis just a flesh wound. Just through the shoulder, in and out. He's fine. Totally fine.
Sure.
He was. I mean, he legitimately was. They get to Tanya's. He gets patched up. It hurts a little bit, but he'll live. Well, for a little bit longer. He's fine. And they're having quite the party over at Tanya's.
Well, I mean, you're in an apartment building with what looks like a lot of apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So, wouldn't you feel relatively safe?
I guess. They seem to be, like I said, they're just hanging out and having a party. Again, those like, actors that I like, because her sister Lorraine, her husband.
Oh, yes.
Walked out, I was like, Nico Nicotera, good to see you, my guy. Rat boy himself.
Rat boy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Dressed to go out and look around and decided he didn't want to do that. Yeah. Lorraine was quite pissed. Had a really good reason to be. Decided she wanted to participate in the purge and shot her sister who was having a fling with her husband.
Yeah. Sarge sees her like being like anxious and taking like meds and stuff. And I was like, is Tanya up to something? And I was like, oh, well, she was sleeping with her sister's husband.
Yep.
But yeah, it escalates quickly with Lorraine killing Tanya and then guns for her husband, who grabs Liz as a shield. So Sergeant Pepper has to shoot him and get the gang the hell out of Fancy Apartment Dodge. Yeah. Good to go.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because Eva lied to the Frankster. There's no
did. She had the best of intentions, okay?
She did what she tells him straight up. Was like, she did what she had to do to get her and her daughter somewhere safe.
Right.
And then the International Man of Mystery with no name states that his plans tonight are also for his son. And I was like, vengeance, justice, something else. Ooh, intriguing. Tell me more. And he did eventually.
Yes, but not right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they got to get out of here. But Big Daddy and the drive-by truckers show up. They've tracked them down using the CCTV as government officials to find out exactly where they went. Because he's got a vendetta against Sergeant Secretive. He also wants to take Eva and Callie back for himself. He's just feeling slighted after everything that happened earlier. He doesn't like that they got away.
Well, and then one of the trucks got shot all to hell, which gave the opportunity for the group they climbed in and saw what was actually going on and saw that they were using the cameras, and then the buildings were being specifically targeted.
Yeah, that's information people don't need to have. Yeah, so Frank Grillo, Sergeant's gonna stay back for a little bit, gets the others, and I was like, there's no noisier way to escape than over a chain link fence. I don't know. The soldiers didn't clock it somehow, but it's like, all right, they're right around that corner. We gotta be quiet and get out of here. Okay, it's not very quiet. I don't know how they didn't immediately go, oh, the fence, got it.
Stealth was not something that they were great at.
No. But yeah, they get over the fence and kind of escape, or so you think, but then as Sergeant's going to try to go, oh no, they all got grabbed by Hollywood Undead. So, in the back of that van.
Every time you come up with another name, I can't even... Any thought
but you know who I'm talking about. So.
I do. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, there wasn't an official name for any of that group, so they have all those different names.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and they take them in, and yeah, they're different. They're not really purging. They're just selling people to this auction for rich people to choose murder victims.
Mm-hmm. And our little band of survivors end up being part of the last plate for the evening at this auction.
Yeah. They get to be hunted in a special area by people who paid their entry into this private purge.
And no more pretentious. Like, you can tell that some of the people are based on other people. Like real people. I'm
pretty sure I saw Mitch McConnell in that room. I don't he was leaned over a plate of lettuce, just eating it with his teeth. And then he retreated into his shell.
Uh-huh. No, I'm talking about Mr. Hearst and his sons, Charles and Tom. They just happen to, strike a chord with me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So them, Mr. Lockhart and his lovely wife, and the Hanover sisters.
But it's time for Sergeant Slaughter to go out and do his thing. He knows what he's doing here, and not just to survive for himself, but then help out these other people that are stuck with him now. So he's going to go out, take out the rich assholes, and make the hunters the hunted. Oh, how the turntables. Mm-hmm. Of course, the last remaining two, the married couple, they just flee. They run out. They don't get all of them. Those two just like, oh, get out of here. And then evil Betty White calls in backup. And here come the men in black tie suit get-ups.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get this very great moment between Shane and Liz where they've kind of rebonded together and apologized to each other, only for Shane to be shot up.
Yeah, that was not expected. I was like, well, shit, R.I.P. Shane. At least Liz got to tell him she still loved him literally half a second before he died.
Mm-hmm.
But, better dead than never, I guess.
He didn't want the marriage to end. It was her idea.
Yeah, that was the whole big thing. It's like, we need to tell your sister. And his response always like, but if we tell other people, then that makes it real.
Yes. I subscribe to that. I mean, when you say words out loud, it makes it real, and that is hard. You can't take it back. He's talking about, we can't take it back. We can't make it go away. And it's like, so he doesn't want to. Which, haven't talked about them much, but Zach Gilford, my Flaniverse heart was very happy to see him. I thought you might be.
Yeah.
And how often do you get to star with your real life wife in a movie?
Oh, that's cool. Didn't know that.
Kylie Sanchez, yeah. They are married, and they had a complicated relationship in this movie, and one of the conversations that they had at one point, I think it was just before the car broke down, which is basically they're telling each other, what they really think. He thinks she makes decisions and then says they're joint decisions, and she thinks that he agrees to things and then forgets that he's agreed to them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this disconnect in communication between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like throughout the whole movie, they really come back together because everything is stripped away and they're stuck in this life or death situation. And there's no other choice.
Mm-hmm.
They have to band together themselves and with their new friends.
Yeah.
And Liz is devastated when he's basically shot up in front of her and decides she wants to purge and is left in the capable hands of Carmelo and the stranger, aka Dante Bishop.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sarge gets Eva and Callie out while he can, but yeah, you see like Liz wants to stay behind to help Carmelo and the others kill the bad guys. She's very much like, well, this is my villain origin story. Like, let's go.
Yeah. She's like, no way. They were so close to getting away. So close.
Mm-hmm.
And she took it upon herself to stay and fight the good fight with Carmelo and Dante.
And then everything else after that, I've already talked about kind of what
we
happens
really have.
With Sarge and stuff. So yeah, we jumped around a lot. So the next ones, Eva and Callie, I talked about a lot of theirs, but just bouncing back if there's anything I haven't said, which I don't know if there is, because yeah, pretty much other than, yeah, just I say Eva convincing old Rumlow to take the group to her friend's house for safety. But the car was a lie. Gladys would be pleased. And then classic teenager logic moment with Callie of I'm going to do the thing that you want me to do because I want to and not because you said so. There's a moment where she has that line where it's like, stop talking. He keeps telling her like, well, no, we're talking. And she's like, I'm going to stop because I want to stop talking. It's like, okay.
She keeps trying, and I think it's because she sees good in him and she doesn't want him to make a decision that's going to change him in a bad way.
Yeah.
Which taking a life would do, and she didn't want him to do that. I liked her a lot. I felt like she was a lot braver than her mother at times. Like, she was scared, obviously, but she really seemed to get the seriousness of the situation.
So yeah, I don't have anything else on them. Shane and Liz, I've covered most stuff. Like I said, Zach Gilford, good to see. One thing I thought was interesting, yeah, the car dies on the way home right before the purge. Uh-oh. And they run downtown, and I was like, everybody's going to be downtown. And then, like, the purge starts, and I was like, why is there nobody? Downtown is very empty for purge night. You would think everyone would already be out there just waiting for the commencement. Like,
yeah, no, they weren't.
Why is it? It's kind of weird. But then we just get a lot of them running around downtown trying to avoid the wacky pack.
Well, I mean, Pake, they weren't down there trying to have block parties or anything.
They should have. We see how well that works. Yeah, Shane's just going to talk about Sarge like he's not right there. This guy's out here for a reason. He's a purpose. He's going to do some nasty things.
Well, I mean, why else would he be out?
Right, he's got a good point, but also, I like Sarge, I can hear you. Like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then R.I.P. Shane. But, yep, always happy to see Zach Gilford. Always, always. So that's really all the character stuff. Let's see, I had some other, like, Purge stuff. The first time we see Big Daddy, I was like, well, those people had a terrible Purge night. It just started, and they get gunned down by a guy in a truck.
Yeah, they're just basically looking at the truck, and the next thing you know, the gun comes out, and it's gone.
Yep.
Gonzo.
Yeah, got all the, like, snipers and the crazy lady up on the bridge and all this stuff going on.
Oh,
like,
my gosh. The one with the bullhorn that was up there screaming. It's like, oh, my God.
Yeah. We also have Carmelo deciding tonight's the night the Revolutionary Rebels take the fight to the NFFA, and so we know they're out and about doing stuff. Yeah, we know what the NFFA is up to with Big Daddy, the government team. Yeah, watching through the CCTV. It says, yeah, we found the people who attacked Truck 2, and I'm like, yeah, because that's what happened. I I mean, Grilski did attack them, but
he didn't do everything. I mean, he didn't gun down all those people. That was Carmelo and his group that did all of that.
Yeah, and then the back streets boys grabbing people and selling them off to auction. Yep, talked about that. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. Because the other note is the return of the stranger.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one that was like, let's start with the sergeant, and then it was like, or we'll just bounce around and do all of my notes in a different order, and we'll just kind of whatever comes up, which is fine too.
Right. I mean, why not? Wherever the conversation takes us has always been our policy anyway. Did you happen to notice they were showing different video snippets of purgers doing different things, like the guy walking down the street with the axe and men with guns and dogs, and then there were these guys on a bus and they were just shooting out of the bus, and then 5 minutes later the bus goes down the hill and it's on fire. Now I was like, okay, yeah, all right. I loved some of the things that Carmelo said. We worship at the altar of Smith & Wesson. It's about money. Who dies tonight? The poor. What happened to give me your needy, you're tired? The redistribution of wealth upward through killing has to stop. We must pick up arms. This year we will fight back. And then there was one more that he said, change only comes when their blood spills. I was like, that sounds like someone who is, rallying the troops or doing a battle cry.
Yeah.
So, one thing I uncovered when I was looking into this movie, because I feel like when we covered the first two, we talked about a lot of the, development of the series and everything already. So the Purge takes place the day after the spring equinox. Spring is a symbol for rebirth or cleansing, which is the purpose of the Purge.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts at 7 p.m. on March 21st and goes till 7 a.m. on March 22nd, which is one night after the spring equinox. So it's like, we're going to cleanse, and then we go 364 days and do it again, basically. This movie hit a little bit differently this time I watched it. I'm not quite sure why.
Who knows?
But I'm glad that we got to talk about it. I guess.
Yeah, that was fun.
I mean...
Thoughts? Hey, I think you were scared that I was going to rip it apart, and I didn't. I had a lot of great things to say about it, and I enjoyed it. I just had fun names for people because they weren't credited as anything else.
Did you really enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. It was fun. It was a good movie.
I think it was, to me, it's the best one. The next one is also, to me,
there was no
really
Skeletor
good.
in it, so it was great.
He is long since deceased.
Mm-hmm. Too bad. Yeah, the next movie, What Election Year, is just a bunch of people who remember Skeletor, and there's a bunch of people all dressed up and acting like him as tribute. I would not make it through that one.
You might. You'd just be laughing so hard the entire time, probably.
I don't know. I remember I didn't find him laughably bad. I just found him bad.
Yeah, I think that we should cover Election Year later this season. That one will probably hit differently as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, there goes the feedback phone. Perfect timing, as always. So
it's always on
see what some people had to say about this one. Let me go get it. All right, we do have a little bit of feedback this week. Love to see it, of course, from some of our usual suspects. Love to hear from them. So I guess go ahead and start off with the first one, Daphne.
All right. Catherine sends in, seeing how the different classes took advantage of the Purge was fascinating and terrifying. I tried to write more feedback, but I kept getting aggressively political.
I get it.
Catherine, that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to cover this movie now.
Yeah, yep. Nothing as timely as the times.
Yeah.
For sure. No, I get that though, but then you're also like, do I really feel like going on a big rant?
Yeah. And so you delete it because you've typed it all out, but it's easy to delete before you post it. So sometimes that's just what happens.
Yeah. But we get it and we see
yes.
it. And we agree. Also, Wendy writes in and says, I have a distinct recollection of watching this while sick. I wasn't expecting much, but I really liked it. The acting and action was top notch for a multi-series horror show.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was talking about this with and is because timelines are going to be all wobbly because I'm going to talk about Brunch with a Friend in like 2 or 3 episodes from now, but also now as you're hearing this because of recording time. But yeah, I'd mentioned to a friend that I was having brunch with this last weekend. Ask about it was something we were talking about, like letting Rotten Tomato scores and stuff hinder or affect the way if you're going to watch a movie or not. Like it was like there's a movie you want to watch, but then you look at the ratings and reviews, and then you decide not to watch it, and then being like, it's not because like if you want to watch it, just watch it, and then like make it up for yourself. And then I said there are some movies that have horrendous Rotten Tomato scores that I've actually ended up really enjoying, and they're like, so what's an example of that? What's one? And I was like, actually, since we just recorded on it, like we just covered it on the podcast, the Purge Anarchy didn't have great. Like the Rotten Tomatoes was pretty bad. And I was like, and yeah, because there was some special effects stuff and there's some writing stuff that like is not great and doesn't hold up. It's not a great movie by any means, but also I did thoroughly enjoy it. I thought that it was worth watching, and so I'm glad that like, I mean, again, because the podcast, I'm going to watch it anyway, but I'm glad that it's not a situation where I look at those ratings and reviews and decide I'm not going to watch this. I can't watch it now, because then I would have missed out on some fun stuff that I did enjoy.
Absolutely. You have to be really careful with those ratings because sometimes they just get skewed. And there are movies that the same thing has happened for me. And I've watched the movie and been like, I don't know what they were watching because this seems pretty great. But I also have specific tastes when it comes to some movies. Mm-hmm. So, and the Purge series is one of my favorite series of films.
Yeah. Which I typically don't even look at a lot of those ratings and stuff until after anyway, because I don't want to be skewed. But then there are those moments then where I'm like, oh my god, that was one of the best movies I've watched in a long time. Oh my god, it was so good. I bet everybody else loves it. And then I go on there and it's like 5.1 and people are shitting all over it. And it's like, what movie did you people watch?
Yeah.
So
it's really hard to know. That's for sure. Well, if you'd like to submit feedback like Wendy or Catherine, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast, or you can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. You can always go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links that you're ever going to need. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. If you feel so inclined, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
We do absolutely appreciate that. And of course, speaking of sharing the love, got to give those shout outs to things going on in the Podcastica universe around us and beyond. A lot of good stuff for you to go check out and listen to. I've been saying it forever with the Cast of Us podcast. We've been gearing up for it. Well, finally, it's freaking here. If you're listening to this the day that this releases, the first episode of The Last of Us is this weekend, 2 days, Sunday night. So you season 2 of The Last of Us, and then you can definitely check out their coverage of that episode on Sunday. After the episode drops, they're releasing it. Podcastica is lucky enough to get screeners for a lot of shows, which means, yes, we get to watch some shows before you do, but also then, as listeners, as soon as the episode ends, we've already seen it, we've already talked about it, we've already recorded it, and usually we try to get those uploaded to where, like, the episode ends on TV, and then there's a podcast waiting for you to go to immediately. Yes. So,
yeah.
You'll be able to check out their coverage of the premiere of Season 2 of Last of Us right after it airs, Sunday night.
Yeah, and some shows you really need that kind of therapy time with friends. At least that's what it's been described to me as. And so that's why we try to get these episodes out the days that the shows drop, because then, you have something to listen to process through what you're feeling after watching amazing TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely check that out. Same thing with Yellow Jackets. Kind of the same idea. So episodes are there ready for you, including the season 3 finale this week.
Full circle. And yes, me, Wendy, and Jason covered the finale. We're going to come back with one more episode to do feedback for anyone who watched the finale episode and wants to share that with us. It's been, I think, a great season. And the finale itself was pretty awesome, I think. So I hope you guys check it out.
Yeah. And after they listen to the coverage of the final bit of this season of Yellow Jackets, then it's a shame they'll never get to hear you on any other podcasts for a while. Wait, no. Picking up also this week, right away, this weekend with... You're just jumping right into something else.
I am.
You can't nope. Stay away.
2 weeks of recording 5 podcast episodes a week. It's been a bit intense, but it's also been awesome. Yeah, The Handmaid's Tale comes back. It came back this Tuesday, actually. And we dropped our episode on Tuesday for episodes 1 through 3. Episode 4 drops this coming Tuesday, and our episode will drop that day. We were lucky enough to get screeners, so we're happy to bring you our coverage.
Yeah. So a lot of great stuff there you can check out, as well as The Wheel of Time with Greg and Veronica covering season 3 right now, episode 6 up this week. So you can check that out. And also if you're watching White Lotus over on Max, which a lot of you are, the White Lotus podcast here on Podcastica has got some love. It is blowing up on the Apple Podcast charts, and we appreciate that here at Podcastica. All of the listeners, I love that. So they're killing it over there.
Yeah.
So definitely check out Jenny, Randy, and Jason's coverage of White Lotus if you're not already.
Yeah, they are up in like the top 30 on the TV and film podcasts.
It's insane.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Do some great work over there. So yeah, definitely check out their coverage. That season is over as well, so you can go back and check out all of those episodes for their season 3 coverage of White Lotus. Good stuff. And then, of course, the Marvel TV cast covering Daredevil Born Again over on Disney+. You can go check out those. That finale is next week, and I'm not ready for it, but this whole season has been so
Absolutely.
good. And I don't want it to end because I love having some Daredevil back in my life.
Didn't realize how much you missed it until you get it back, and you still get that same feeling when you're watching it. And we've had some great cameos this season, and I'm not ready for it to be over either. I think I told you before we started recording that I wish they had stretched it out and not dropped 2 episodes a pop in some weeks.
Yeah. 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 It would be nice to stretch it out a little bit more. But of course, I know they, it's probably Disney Plus making the decision to kind of get Daredevil done, make sure that those are done because Andor is coming out very soon and going to have a lot of focus on that. Which, of course, we have the Star Wars TV cast. Me and Daphne covered Skeleton Crew over there. So you can check that out, because handing it back the reins to the Star Wars gods of Podcastica. Yes. Jonathan and James will be on that podcast covering Andor Season 2. And the release, episode release schedule for Andor is interesting. They're releasing 3 episodes a week. And so Jonathan and James will be covering those 3 episodes each. So basically every week, so for 4 weeks, you'll get them covering a whole movie's worth of stuff over on that podcast every week. So definitely check their coverage out as well when that happens.
Yeah, when they drop episodes like that, it ends up that the podcast recording is a marathon. Because you have so much that you want to talk about, because there's all these little nuances and details and you don't want to leave anything out. And that results in a longer podcast.
Yeah. So I don't know, we'll see how long they go on that and stuff, because I got a lot of Andor to cover, but they're up to the task. So definitely go check out. They are incredible on Star Wars stuff. So again, it was a little nerve-wracking for me to step into their shoes to cover Skeleton Crew, but I had Daphne there with me and we had a great time with it. And hopefully listeners really enjoyed that, but the Kings are back.
Yep. Happy to hand that over to them.
Yes. But of course, as I say, beyond, there's also our friends and other podcast networks we got to give some love to. Our friend Mark runs the Pirate Core Entertainment Podcast Network, and a lot of great stuff going on over there. Adrenaline Cinema covers all kinds of action movies and stuff. Hasn't released anything recently as much as he's been focusing on Daredevil over on Panels to Pixels podcast, but there's a whole backlog of action movies on Adrenaline that you can go check out. A lot of great coverage of stuff. And then he's got his PC music podcast as well, the Pirate Core Music Podcast, that he's going to be putting up episodes when he can, doing some stuff, but there's definitely the Alanis Morissette episode you can check out now over there.
Yes.
So, a lot of good stuff that Mark's been working on, but he's got Daredevil running right now, and of course, Becky and Mandy on that network have been covering HBO's The Pit over on Max, and that's been getting a lot of love, and that show and their podcast.
Yeah.
So definitely go check those out. And then always give some love to our friends over at TV Podcast Industries, Derek and John, of course, covering great stuff. Daredevil as well over there. They've been rocking that season, so give that a listen as well.
Derek and John have a less intense schedule right now just because they're doing one show. But I am sure, honestly, they're going to amp up and be doing like 3 and 4 shows a week pretty soon.
Yeah, they they stay busy. Because they do a lot of the Marvel and Star Wars and things like that over there as well. And that stuff's going to be like cranking up with Andor coming back. I don't know for sure if they're covering that, but it wouldn't surprise me. We'll let you know for sure when I know. And then we have more Marvel series. Ironheart comes out in a couple of months, very recent, like pretty soon. And then Marvel's got a couple other series coming up over this year. So stay tuned for them over there as well.
It's a busy time.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if you want to hear more of me and Daphne just chatting, hanging out, talking with our friends Jeff and Jerry, playing some crazy games, doing some crazy stuff, you can check out the Buffalo podcast as well. We're still having fun over there, doing a bunch of nonsense.
It is a bunch of nonsense, and it is a ton of fun. And we do play some ridiculous games, but it's always a ton of fun just to chill and hang with friends and do ridiculous things sometimes.
Which, speaking of, they always say, after you've listened to all that great stuff, watched all that great stuff, you can come back here next week to Run for Your Lives for a brand new episode. And I guess we kind of teed it up on accident a little bit as far as what's going on next week here.
Well, Pake, we're going to do a part 2 to an episode that we did almost a year ago. And it's basically a chat with us. 2 of us are going to sit down and talk about some of the things we've been doing outside of this podcast and just kind of catch up and do what we usually do when we're not recording. If we're hanging out, on Zoom or whatever, just chatting about whatever we're into and having fun and just giving you a little peek behind who we are and what we're about outside of Run for Your Lives.
Yeah. So we, just kind of hanging out, not talking about a movie in specific, although we may talk about a few movies and some ideas and stuff for the future. You'll have to listen in to make sure what we're talking about exactly. But it's just a chance for us to take a break from all the notes and all the prep and all the movie stuff and just chat in a, we talk way too much to each other anyway, but might as well make a recording of it. But also, for those who are still listening at this point, if you've made it and still hanging on at this part of the podcast, and I'll make a post on Facebook as well over this week for the, what's coming up this weekend. But we'd also like to hear, because we record the feedback stuff like this, again, a little bit later, so even though we've recorded our conversation, we can continue it. If you guys have any, comments, questions, concerns, I don't know, maybe keep those to yourself. But if you have any questions for us that you'd like for us to answer about anything and everything, or if you just have anything you'd want to hear us talk about briefly, let us know. Send us that feedback in over this week before that conversation episode comes out, and we will definitely make that part of kind of our feedback bit. Talk a little bit more if anybody has anything else that they like to add to the conversation or hear our conversation viewpoints on. I don't know. Anything like that, let us know.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we've reached the end of another freaky episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.